Hello and welcome to a new video. Today we're going to take a look at the newly buffed Ice Event variant of the Wigglytuff in the Open Ultra League. Yes, I built my level 50 Pokemon just for this video, so let's see how this is actually going to go. The cool thing about Wigglytuff is that it has also the part normal typing, which makes it really good for ghost type Pokemon as well. We're going to have quite a few in this current meta, like for example the Jellicent that we have on our own team, as the opponent makes a great catch here in the beginning onto a Porygon 2 as well, which is kind of wild. Like, definitely crazy spice here in the Ultra League. But definitely the best matchup for the Wigglytuff is going to be the Giratina matchup, as usually they're running something like Shadow Sneak plus Dragon Claw, and both of those moves are going to be double resisted, which makes it like such a good counter for Giratina. Let's see if we're going to be able to align it eventually against it. But here we're going to see also, for the team, we're going to have Snarl, Granbull as our Saysop. You know me, I'm not really the biggest fan of running double charm, sometimes just do it for like reasons where I kind of want to make the most toxic teams, but here this was not really my case here. I kind of wanted to just have a fun team around the Wigglytuff, so we're running Snarl on the Granbull, trying to bait out potential steel type Pokemon, and also worked out pretty well in my opinion. Here we're going to see the opponent's Greninja coming in, which is kind of funny. They went for the bait first, but it doesn't really help them, as they can just go for the full farm down, and for the first game we already see the Wigglytuff in action, going to be able to just farm down the opponent. We can win this game. Let's move on to the next one. Next opponent coming up, we're going to have another great lead. This is also something why we kind of need to keep our Jellicent alive here. This is basically our best answer for Pokemon like the Tentacool, for basically any kind of poison type Pokemon, which is really important in the current meta because Tentacool is basically everywhere. Scald is coming through, doesn't get the debuff, which is kind of nice for me, and I can go for my Shadow Ball as well soon. As the opponent decides to go for their own charge move, it's going to be the Scald. It's going to give me the attack drop as well, so I should have most likely went for my own charge move before that, because then Shadow Ball would have definitely put them into farmland range. Like this, I'm going to be forced to go for another Surf, so this was definitely a silly mistake by me. Sure, went for my charge move immediately, but what we can see here is that the opponent decides to forfeit. Interestingly enough, the opponent forfeited pretty early there, because they could have actually still played it out because we had Snarl. So Snarl Granbull actually I think loses against Poliwrath, which is kind of funny because yeah, he's still not going to do super effective damage. Close Combat is the best one that he can go for, but of course I didn't know that I would have still another Fairy type in the back, which would have been able to beat the team prior as well. Here we're going to see Greninja again against our Wigglytuff, and we can take a look at Icy Wind now coming up against the Nidoqueen. Again, Nidoqueen is going to be a very bad matchup for you, but at least you're going to be able to get the attack drop and do some damage against the opponent, as they're forced to go for the Poison Jab, or like Poison Fang here basically. Going to not knock me out, but a few more fast moves will be able to knock me out, while I can try to knock them out with my Jellicent here, which is going to be nice. So it's now going to be only the 9-tails in the back. I have to let this move go through. My only play here really is to try to hope that I can still go for 2 close combats against the opponent, and then I should be hopefully fine of winning this game. Here we're going to see that we're going to get the final shield, which is really important. I have to go for a crunch bait first. Let's see if this is going to work out. Can we still survive this extra charm that just came through? Let's take a look at this one. We cannot, and so we sadly lose this game here. If Granbull would have been just like a few bulk points better there, we would have been definitely fine. But let's take a look at the next opponent. And we're going to see actually a little bit of an issue here for this team is going to be the Cresselia, because Cresselia is actually way better against Jellicent than I thought. And the opponent swaps out into the Registeel, which you might think, oh, that's pretty bad for this team. But actually it's kind of fine now, because we got some damage onto them. We can just go for a close combat against the opponent as well with our Granbull. And they're going to let this move go through, which I'm fine with. I can just go ahead and use a shield here against the opponent. They are going to, of course, go straight for the Zap Cannon, get immediately the debuff against me, but I can at least still go for the Crunch. Hoping for a debuff here as well would be really nice for me. We will see that the opponent uses a shield, and the opponent decides to go for another charge move while I didn't get the debuff. They're gonna go for another Zap Cannon, and we're gonna see the swap out now into the Cresselia. Well, they're going to have a shield advantage here, I think. We are going to be able to get out of this matchup with a move stored, as I can catch a charge move onto my Jellicent. This is going to be amazing, as now the Moonblast is getting, doing not as much damage basically as a Grass Knot would do, for example. We can go for the Surf, get the final shield from the opponent, force them to go for the next charge move in time. And so that's going to knock me out. The Grass Knot is going to definitely knock me out here, but I can go back into my Crunch variant of, or maybe I'm not even going to go into this one. I'm just going to go for the full farm down here, because Wigglytuff can actually just go for the full farm down. Getting with that a lot of energy and maybe getting to another charge move later on might help us out as well. And as you can see, the opponent is running the Lantern in the back, and that's going to be an interesting one, because now I can can just wait until they cannot throw a charge move, or I can just swap out a little bit earlier, go for the close combat, get a ton of damage onto them, not the knockout yet, they can knock me out, but Wigglytuff will be able to just farm down the entire team of the opponent. As we will see here, the opponent just forfeiting, and it's going to be a good game. Next opponent coming up, we're going to have a Warren here. Honestly, first set that I played with this team, I went 4-1 immediately, which I found like so wild for like having a 2178 CP Pokemon on the team. That is kind of mad. But here we're going to be able to just go for a Shadow Ball against the opponent's Warren. This is going to do some decent damage against the opponent, and we can still try to stay in here because our backline is kind of neutral against it, but our lead should be very fine. We can go for another charge move. This is only the Icicle Spear. It does not really help them out too much, and we can see what the opponent gonna do now. As I stayed in, they're most likely going to be weak against me in the back, and so I swap out into my Granbull as the opponent reveals that they're going to have the Virizion in the back, which is definitely a decent matchup for them against my team. And as well, they're going to see here right now that my Pokemon, my Granbull, is not running the Charm, which is kind of good for them, I guess. I'm going to use a shield here just so I can get some damage onto them as well as they use the shield, and so I will be able to reach another charge move, and they're going to have a Poliwrath in the back. And this is going to be amazing because now we can get some damage onto them, and I cannot get to another charge move, but I can swap out into my Jellicent and get some value out of this Pokemon as well. Gonna go for a Shadow Ball, should not knock them out but get them insanely low. I'm going to stay in here, I'm going to let them go for a charge move. It's going to be the Scald, and I can swap out now into my Wigglytuff, and now it's a one-shield Wigglytuff against the Virizion. The cool thing here is, every time the opponent goes for a charge move, I sneak an extra fast move through, which is with Charm like so overpowered. So like Charm against a 3-turn opponent is just so mad. As you can see here, I'm still gonna go for the Icy Wind, not for the damage because I still have a shield left, but because of the debuff. And as we can see here now afterwards, this was definitely the right call, as now the Leaf Bite is not going to knock me out, and we can just win this game and move on to the next one. Let's see what the next opponent going to run. The opponent going to run the Swampert in the lead, which is going to be an okay lead for us. It's not as ideal, and honestly it's something that you maybe just play a little bit differently when you have a little bit more knowledge about it. I just went straight for the Shadow Ball, trying to get some damage onto them because maybe I can charm them down later, but maybe 2 Surfs would be the better play to go for. I decided to use a shield here just because I don't want to get hit by an Earthquake, which would do a ton of damage against Jellicent, but the opponent decides to swap out now onto a charge move here, onto the Surf, into their Golisopod. Great play by them, but we're also going to be kinda able to hardwall the Golisopod with our Wigglytuff, which is kinda mad. You're going to double resist the fast move of the opponent. We can still take 2 liquidations like this as well, which is kinda nice. I can go for my own charge move, which is really cool. They're going to be forced to shield. Could have went for Icy Wind then as well, but I kind of want to get the knockout if they didn't shield, because like otherwise it would be a little bit silly. But like this, I can still even realign my Pokemon, getting the shield back that I just used prior as well. And we're gonna get out the Tentacruel, and so I can align my Pokemon perfectly. I can go into my Jellicent against the Tentacruel, which is the best matchup that I could go for, and I can also go into my Granbull against the Swampert, but they decide to swap out perfectly into their Swampert with the Hydro Cannon stored, while I was double defense dropped there. So I decided to swap out into my Granbull. I can take a Hydro Cannon, I cannot take an Earthquake. It is just going to be the Hydro Cannon, and so I can go for the full farm down, and now I have so much energy still for the Tentacruel. Crunch is coming through, I hope for the debuff. I do not get the debuff, but hopefully the opponent is going to be in range for just 1 Shadow Ball and a little bit of fast move pressure, but we have to see about this. They can go for another charge move themselves. Maybe it's going to get the debuff onto my attack. It's going to be the Scald, and it gets the attack drop, which is kind of unfortunate. So it's going to be still a little bit closer. Scald is kind of busted, not gonna lie, but we can still reach another charge move with the Surf coming through. This is going to be it for this game. This is going to get the knockout, and we can move on into the next game. Next opponent coming through, let's see what they're going to run here. We're going to see the Jellicent against the Cresselia. That's going to be a very decent one for us. But again, like Cresselia matchup is actually kind of neutral, because if they just stay in and go for Grass Knot, it's going to be a little bit of a trickier one, because it just barely does not knock you out in 2 shields, but it's going to get you super low, that they might be even able to snipe you afterwards. So I decided to go for a Shadow Ball here, do some damage against them, and now I decided to go for a shield because I don't want to get hit by a Grass Knot. But I kinda overfarm a little bit too much. As you can see here, I try to overfarm by way too much, honestly. And so they can even go for another charge move, which is really unfortunate because now we're insanely low. And I most likely even could have went for a Surf here at this point. but Shadow Ball is going to be enough and definitely going to be the safer play anyway. As you can see here, the opponent swaps out into the Talonflame. Our best Talonflame answer is gone at this point, so it's going to be a tough one to come back from this one as well, as we can just at least get the defense drop against them, but we kind of have to either charm them down, or honestly I don't even know how we really want to deal with it. They're gonna even get the boost here. I can go for a Surf. I have to hope that I can even go for another Surf afterwards, but as you can see, the opponent is going to be able to knock me out, and now it's just the Wigglytuff here as we're going to be able to use a shield, but it's not really going to help us too much because as you can see here, they are not in range for the charm down, and so we're gonna go down here from the fly, and so we can move on into the next game. Let's see what the next opponent is going to run. We're going to have here the Jellicent against the Giratina. This would be a Pokemon I would like to have against my Wigglytuff. So I decided to swap out, hope that they're going to swap out as well, and they're going to swap out into their Shadow Grunball as well, but they are running the better moveset here for them. Most likely could have went for the Crunch first and then for the Close Combat, and would have got 2 moves off here, which would have been way better for me. But at least I'm going to be able to use a shield and go for the full farm down with my Jellicent. Should allow us to go for some Shadow Balls against the opponent's Giratina if they want to swap back into it. But I honestly hope that they're not going to do this and go into a different Pokemon. But they are not going to do this here, so we're going to be able to still go for the Shadow Ball against the opponent's Giratina here. Gonna get them low. They can go for their own charge move. I kind of want to swap out before, but it is not really working out for me. Now I can swap out into my Wigglytuff, and they're going to have the Poliwrath in the back. Can Wigglytuff just charm through them here in the Ultra League? Let's find out together. They're gonna go for the Icy Wind. It's a smart play because they cannot know that we are forced to use a shield in order to keep our Wigglytuff healthy. They can still go for the charge move here. I can still go for the full farm down, hopefully. They can go for a Scald now. Scald is going to do more damage against me as well, but it's not going to be enough to knock me out yet. But we can now go for 2 Surfs. I can go for the farm down against the opponent. They still have a shield left. They still have some energy left as well. I think they also have some health left here, so I have to go for the Shadow Ball. It actually does work out, and we can win this game with the Jellicent here. What a game. Next opponent coming through, we're going to have the Poliwrath in the lead, and this is going to be an amazing lead. So they're going to swap out into a Gliscor. I guess I did not really expect the Jellicent lead here, but this is going to be amazing for us, and we should swap out eventually though, but I am not doing this yet, because I kind of want to get some shield advantage or something like this first, because I can go for the super effective Surf, but they can also go for the super effective Night Slash, while Night Slash would be resisted on my backline, but then Earthquake would hurt me quite a bit. So I feel like there's not really a solid play anyway, like it's all kind of tricky. I can at least go for another Surf and maybe force them to realign. Let's see what they're going to do here. They're going to use a shield, and so I decide to swap out. I'm 2 shields up now. Now I'm going to be 1 shield up because I'm going to shield this next move up here from the opponent. Earthquake coming through, so we can overfarm by quite a bit. And now I have nearly 2 crunches stored, as we can go for the first one here. We're going to be able to get the knockout, and we see the opponent swapping back into the Poliwrath. I'm gonna go straight for basically the Close Combat here, because I don't want to get knocked out from the Scald before. I try to go for another one, does not work out, but I can now swap out at least into my Wigglytuff, trying to farm them down as basically as good as possible here, but it's going to be a little bit of a trickier one, as we see them going for no charge move. So this is going to be amazing for us. They're going to have the Registeel in the back. This is going to be a little bit of a trickier one. I can at least go for the Icy Wind, and the opponent is going to be forced to keep this debuff the entire time. But I cannot really do it here and go for basically a swap out, because, yeah, like onto the charge move, I mean, because like there is not really a lot that I can do about it. I still have a shield left. Maybe should have went for the Surf first here, because Surf first would allow me to at least get some damage in before I get debuffed, which would make it a little bit easier. But I can still go for a Shadow Ball now. At this point, the opponent is still forced to use another charge move against my Jellicent, but I'm going to hurt them a little bit more here with the Surf. We're going to get them low. Can Wigglytuff do it though? This is the question. They definitely overfarm by a little bit here as well with the Registeel. I can get this Focus Blast, but let's take a look here. Can we still outspeed the opponent? We can go for the Disarming Voice, and so Wigglytuff honestly going to be able to knock out a Registeel in the Ultra League. What a day, man. Final game for today. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. But we're going to take a look now at the matchup against the Toxicroak. It might be a little bit trickier because Toxicroak has now access to the move Shadow Ball, being super effective against me. Most likely would do a ton of damage. And as we kind of have an ABB style line, we kind of have to keep our lead around. This is how you play it. But I can still go for a Surf before they can go for another charge move, forcing them use their own shield, and I can now use my own shield as well. Again, if they go for the Shadow Ball, I should be kind of safe just farming them all the way down. This is exactly what I'm going to be able to do here. Getting up to a Shadow Ball, I have a shield disadvantage, but at least a Shadow Ball there, and we're going to see that the opponent is going to have the Obstagoon in the back, which is going to be a little bit of a trickier one, but we will find out about this a little bit later on. Here we can still survive on Scald, but maybe I could have went for my charge move prior, at least one charge move prior, and maybe would have still been able to reach another one afterwards, like a crunch or something. But it's going to be okay, as I can still go for the Shadow Ball here. This is going to be my best matchup for the Jellicent, which is kind of important because we know already what the opponent has kind of as a team, so we kind of have to get rid of the Poliwrath here with our Jellicent. But let's take a look here. We're going to be able to still go for the Shadow Ball. This is going to be able to get the knockout, not actually yet, but we can swap out into the Wigglytuff against the Obstagoon. If they have like something like the Hyper Beam, it might be a little tricky. And as you're going to see here, the opponent does have Hyper Beam, going to knock us out, and so it's down to the Jellicent. Can Jellicent still win this game here? We're going to be able to go for the Surf. This is going to get not the knockout. They can still go for a charge move. Is this enough to knock me out though? It's going to be so close. It is not enough. I can Hex down a normal and dark type Pokemon, and so I can just go for a Surf against the Poliwrath to win this game. Hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, feel free to leave a like, check out the videos on the screen, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.